This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian.
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit, Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Greetings, this is the Technical Alchemist, David Mercury, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I'm, of course, your host, James J, and it's a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with the Technical Alchemist, David Mercury.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And where is the Alchemist committing alchemy next, event-wise?
Well, I just wrapped up a three weekend events, but my next event will be on June 8th when Coastal Championship Wrestling presents their next event at Monogamous here in Tampa, Florida. It is don't have information with me, but I'll make sure to plug it in towards the end of the evening.
Absolutely, and people could probably find it on your social media as well, correct?
Correct.
And where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on X, Facebook, and Instagram. I also have a YouTube channel. All you have to do is search The Technical Alchemist, David Mercury.
And where can we find merchandise?
Merchandise at the moment is on hiatus. I am in talks with two companies. One of them is Fully Gimmicked, and the other one is Pro Wrestling Tees, which will be debuting my 4 t-shirts that I have produced with 8x10s and stickers.
Awesome. All right. And if that is set up before this interview comes out, or even afterwards, I'll update the bio of the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, with the link to your merchandise and all your social media as well.
Thank you.
All right, let's get into it. You work for CCW and Pride of Pro Wrestling. Can you tell us about your relationship with those companies?
Well, we'll start with CCW, Coastal Championship Wrestling. It has been a promotion that's been based here in Florida for over 20 years, and I didn't get my opportunity to work with this promotion till it was just before COVID, between 2018, 2019. Once started with the promotion, I climbed myself throughout the ranks and quickly became their heavyweight champion, which I defended that belt in a steel cage match against Cha-Cha Charlie at their, want to say, 15th anniversary. Shortly after that, I went on a little bit of a hiatus, but I just recently made my re-debut, or my return, this past Saturday when CCW presented Havoc and Hayes, which, once I said, that is at Monogamous here in Tampa, Florida, which is a brewery. And currently right now, Coastal Championship Wrestling has become what they like to say, the last territory. They are a promotion that has been going all throughout Florida, from Miami to West Palm Beach, Hialeah, Port St. Lucie, and they even just recently had a show. They brought wrestling back to Key West, but they just don't stop there. They also have shows up in Nashville, Tennessee as well. But now that my relationship has been, so to speak, rekindled, I am looking forward to the future of what holds for David Mercury and Coastal Championship Wrestling. Now, moving on to Pride of Wrestling, that one was another return. I was part of their promotion for their first 5 shows, and then also took a 5-year hiatus from them. And it's kind of funny because when I took the hiatus from them, I started working predominantly with Coastal Championship Wrestling and started going around and working other shows throughout the state and also up in the Northeast. I primarily work between Florida and Massachusetts, Boston area, but have been able to work with a promotion called Supernova Wrestling, which likes to take me up to Maine as well. But now that I've kind of got settled back in with Florida, Pride of Wrestling and I rekindled a business together, and their last show, which was POW Presents Who is the King. I was there against their heavyweight champion, Mike Orlando, for the Pride of Wrestling Championship.
Now, you mentioned like it's been maybe a couple minutes since you've worked for Edo Promotion. Was that just busy with other promotions, or is it coming back to maybe unfinished business?
No, it's. I'm a type of guy that I necessarily won't say I like to keep my experiments exclusive, so to speak. I'm a type of guy that likes to get around, and also too primarily have been focusing my work at the Wrestling Lab, which is a wrestling school that I am a part of with Jay Lethal, and everything has been going pretty good. I've been kind of keeping more of my focus with that and taking shows here and there, but when Pride and CCW knocked on my door, I decided to go ahead and open back up and start conducting more experiments with those promotions.
Hell yeah. Well, you mentioned them, Jay Lethal. You wrestled Jay Lethal in that ended in a no contest, and then moments later you teamed with him against Logan and Wheezy T. Can you tell us about the moment? Tell us about the experience wrestling Jay Lethal.
I would have to say he's definitely been one of my favorite, most bravest participants that I've ever stepped foot in the ring with. Working alongside and with Jay Lethal has been nothing less but a blessing. Our work together has blossomed into something more, which now I call him a colleague and a dear friend. I would have to say it's been quite an experience. It's almost hard to find the right words to put because of how much it truly means to me.
I'm not entirely sure on the timeline here, but were you already working as a coach for Jay at this time, or did it come after this match?
Well, I didn't work with him till after our match that was a no contest. But shortly after that, we started working together. And when we tagged to take on Logan Cruz and Wheezy T, those were a product of our first joint class together. When we unveiled that we were working together as coaches, Wheezy T and Logan were our first students together.
Oh, wow.
And to have the opportunity to present to them of them facing in their debut matches against their coaches was nothing short but bittersweet, because being able to wrestle across from them kids at the time and realized how much of the knowledge from both Jay and myself that they absorbed And now 5 years later to see them, and just recently I got to work Logan Cruz again, but this time with their third member of the Gifted, which was Leroy Shogun, to be able to work with those guys and see how far they have come with the knowledge that they took from us, once again, is truly bittersweet. It's almost as if I'm getting to watch a piece of myself when I first started wrestling right across from me. No words can truly express what that meant to me, but the best way to sum it up was what I said.
Was it maybe like somewhat of a full circle moment, wrestling Jay Lethal, then, becoming a coach with Jay Lethal, and then actually teaming with him to take on your students?
Yeah, it was. It was a full circle. A part of it is scary because you never want the circle to complete. You want this circle to be so big, but once you see that it's a full circle event, it's something truly special. And like I said, to be able to have that opportunity, not just with those two, I've been very privileged to have multiple opportunities to work students that I hold in high regard, and being able to take them to a level that not many people have that opportunity to be with someone that experienced in the ring, and to share that with them. And not only that, but learn a little bit of something new about myself is truly breathtaking.
Well, keeping on learning new things about yourself, like you said, you're a coach at the Wrestling Lab, and you were 22 years in the business. Obviously when you trained, it was a very different time in pro wrestling. I like to call it the Wild West days. So how did you adjust how you were trained to how you're training wrestlers now in 2024?
Not much, really. One of the reasons I am with the lab is because of my grit, so to speak. It is not easy what we do, and for me to walk with these students and give them a taste of what it was, they have to be willing to endure it. And while enduring, you know what I mean, some of the past, and it's more of an example than actually, giving them the full taste of it. It's just them looking into themselves, because from a time when I first started, it was just shortly after the buyout. There, Vince was controlling everything. A lot of the vets that were out there were kind of bitter because work was now kind of shrunken down, and they wanted to make sure, some of them wanted to make sure they wanted to keep their spots. Today it's a lot different. There's plenty of opportunities for everybody, so there is no struggle. But if they want to know what being the best is about, they have to test themselves against the best. They have to work hard to be able to get those opportunities to work the best. It's not just something that falls into their lap. Yes, for some, it does happen that way, but in order for any of my students to have an opportunity against me, at least, I let them know this is not going to be easy. It's like, well, yes, I am your coach, but at the same time, I'm still currently a competitor. I'm still got the hunger. I still like to push myself, and I still like to produce the very best that I can produce. And for the reputation that I've developed of being, the Technical Alchemist, it didn't come easy. It was years of forging, and I show them that. I take them on that journey with me. And a lot of them, at the end of the day, when they step out of the ring, they have truly appreciate that experience, because then that experience is with them and they take that with them to the next show and the next show, and they use it to push themselves harder to be the best that they can be, to hopefully one day grab that brass ring that they've been reaching for so long.
And I definitely say that you were successful in that. Case in point, Emily Locke. Getting championships when she wanted friends, then she wanted boyfriends, and now she has gold.
Yes, yeah. Emily Locke has been doing very well for herself. I'm very proud of how far she's come, actually. This past Saturday at CCW, I got the opportunity to share a locker room with her again as a colleague, and not much as a coach, a coach student, but she has always granted me that respect and has always called me coach. And I got to sit and talk with her a little bit and just, ask her, how she's been doing, and that have paid attention and noticed the leaps and bounds that she has grown since she made her debut and has gone out into the world and is making a name for herself, which I'm truly, truly proud of her and the Exodus for what they have done as well. Those guys have definitely worked hard as well, and are growing. I wish nothing more but the best for them.
Now, one of the more interesting things you've done was I want to say it was an event, but I'm going to call it what it actually is, the Kill City Cup, which is a dystopian future movie combined with a wrestling event, but maybe
yes.
I don't have that right, but you tell us about it.
The Kill City Cup. The Kill City Cup was a unique project presented by a man named Luke Roberts. And it was funny because I just kind of fell into it. One day they had some people that kind of didn't show up, and one of his producers that he was using on set was Chris Silvio. And at the time I was wrestling for Chris Silvio for one of his shows that he was doing in Clearwater, called Bar Wars. And it was because of my gimmick as the Technical Alchemist. He was like, I think this guy would be a fit. So I came in and I didn't even know what to expect. But I came on set and it was incredible. I enjoyed it from the very get-go right through to the end of filming. But also too, being able to have the opportunity to speak and put my input with what was going on in the match that I have against the Zipper Monk and the Russian Markovich. It was very interesting to put it all together and to produce this, and then to finally see the finished product. I thought was incredible. I really enjoyed being a part of it, and because of it, it developed a really good friendship between me and Mr. Roberts. I do know that he is planning on doing a second Kill City Cup, and will the Technical Alchemist make an appearance? You'll have to wait and see.
Was it, when you were doing it, was it more of a studio wrestling show, or was it more on the lines of an indie?
Yes, it wasn't a studio. We didn't have fans for this. It was all just filmed in a studio that was provided by Luke Roberts.
But did it have more like a wrestling feel, or did it feel like you were on a set of a movie?
More of a set of a movie. He had multiple areas. It wasn't just one little area where there was a wrestling ring. He had multiple areas set up. So being able to be a part of those little areas, I thought was really cool. It wasn't, like I said, it just wasn't one main spot. There was other things that were around it that gave it more of a movie set for sure.
Okay. And you mentioned that you were in the ring with Markova and the Monk.
Yes.
I mean, not necessarily your typical wrestling environment, but what was that like wrestling them?
Oh, it was great. Like I said, I really enjoyed every part of it. Being able to work alongside Chris Silvio with that, and being able to help put aspects into the match to give everybody, their unique fill and showcase was really on point. I really enjoyed that.
Now, I might be wrong on this, but was that the first time you wrestled in your lab coat?
Yes, it was. I still currently have that lab coat. That was my first ever lab coat. And yes, and the only reason why that happened was because we were on set and it was air conditioned in there. There's no way I'm going to be wrestling in one of my lab coats on a normal show due to heat and just how much I pay for those lab coats.
And the last question about Kill City is, do you have the VHS tape?
Yes, I do. Actually, I have it in my display case, along with the sticker, and the current shirt that I'm actually wearing is my Kill City Cup shirt.
Awesome. I saw the VHS and I was like, wow, that's a throwback.
Yes, and to being able to watch it on VHS, because I did pick my wife up a while back a VCR that we have. She brought out all of my old, believe it or not, I do still have wrestling tapes with my matches on VHS. I really feel old saying that. But to be able to watch Kill City Cup on VHS was really something, was really nostalgic for me for sure.
I'm just so shocked that they still make VHS tapes.
It's one of those things that are it's just something's making a comeback about them. I actually have a friend who operates a company called Brainbuster Videos, and I'm in talks with him about possibly producing like a limited edition best of the Technical Alchemist David Mercury on a VHS tape.
Wow.
I thought that would be nostalgic to have in my collection as well. Something to just sit down and watch, and I'm going to put a couple of key matches that I truly enjoyed throughout my career. I would like to put on that video.
And the weird thing is, some of our viewers might not have any idea what we're talking about. What's a VHS?
Right.
But that's really cool. Obviously, I'm gonna have to find the VHS tape again. It's definitely been a hot minute. Alright. One of the more unique things is you wrestled Brutal Bob Evans. What was the experience like wrestling Uncle Bob?
It was very good. It was interesting because the day that we wrestled, a lot of the kids that were on the show were really trying to impress him with a lot of technical wrestling and wanted to show Bob, oh man, I can wrestle too. And here I am, and he's like, you want to do this stuff? And I'm like, to be honest with you, I want to entertain the crowd, Bob. And I think right then and there, he realized that I understood. I understood the assignment, and we went out there and we gave that crowd something truly special. I truly appreciate that he was willing to let me fish hook him. That's a move that is legit in my book. A lot of people hate when I fish hook them or I give them facial manipulation with my bare hands, due to sometimes when you want an experiment to go right, you just got to get at it raw with your bare hands. And he was all about that, and I truly appreciate it. And after that match, it sparked another friendship that I'm definitely happy to have. I would have never expected for it to develop the way it did, but it did.
All right, awesome. Now, you could correct me if I'm wrong here, but you did a shot for Ring of Honor?
Yes, I did. Back before the buyout, before Khan bought Ring of Honor, it was just before COVID, actually. They were at Lakeland at the RF Funding Stadium, and I was out there. I was invited to come out. I normally, when Ring of Honor would come out, I would go out and, assist them in any way I can, whether it's set up with production or, helping talent out or whatnot. And I was very fortunate to tag at the time with one of Jay Lethal's students, and we did a Future of Honor match against the Dog Pound. We came up short on the victory, but the experience of being able to say, yeah, man, I got an opportunity with Ring of Honor while it was still Ring of Honor,
right.
I was very fortunate, because that right there, it would just put, a proverbial notch in my test tube of promotions that I've been able to work for throughout my career.
Is that a kind of, obviously Ring of Honor is the most well-known independent out there. Was that a moment that you kind of take in the moment, or is that kind of something that sets in afterwards, like, wow, I did this?
If there was one thing that I wish I could have done, was be the Technical Alchemist when I had that opportunity. It was literally, I was still in the process of creating this persona, and I really think if I just would have had that persona just literally a couple of months before that opportunity, I think it could have been something that it would have struck an interest. But it was shortly after. I mean, literally, it was like after I did Ring of Honor, I did maybe 2 other shows where I was just David Mercury. And I did have the monarch of, the Technical Alchemist, but when the persona hit, and which is why I changed it from the to the, because once that persona was created, there was nothing like that in Florida. There was no other gimmicks like that. And I felt like I was a one of a kind. So I wanted to state that by telling everybody that I was the Technical Alchemist, because there was no other.
And I won't just exclude yourself from, just Florida, like just the United States as a whole. I haven't seen anything quite like the gimmick you're presenting. And, not a lot of people would, dive that deep into it. Somebody would be like, oh, I'm the Technical Alchemist, but just come out in normal tights.
For sure.
Keeping on, promotions, you could correct me if I'm wrong again, but you did a shot for NXT too, right?
Yes, I have. Actually, I did a couple. None of them got me anything in ring, but I did get to do a couple of security spots. One of them was with recently released Trevor when he was Grimes, And
Okay.
when he got all that money, that inheritance money,
Yes.
when he showed up to the NXT, the performance center, and he was driving that Lamborghini, he was coming out and handing guys money. And then when he gets to the back, he comes up to another guy and is like, "Here, take this. I need to get my bags over here." And I was like, "Yes, sir." Which I kind of like, I sometimes like those because I feel like they're little Easter eggs of when the Alchemist is around, so to speak. But also, too, being able to be a part of NXT when it was right after COVID, but they were still making they finally started having audience members again. And they didn't have a lot of audience members, but they had some, and some of them were mixed up with other guys. I was able to be a part of that as well.
Oh, wow. Was it just for NXT, or did you do stuff for Raw and SmackDown as well?
Oh, a long, long time ago. Back when it was WrestleMania 26.
Okay.
I was able to be a part of the Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania 26. Those were the two first times I had opportunities of working with WWE. Now, funny little story. I didn't make it on SmackDown, but the professional wrestler Matt Bentley did. He got to wrestle on SmackDown, but the tights he wore belonged to the Technical Alchemist David Mercury at the time. So I, per se, wasn't on TV, but my tights were, which was pretty cool. And that isn't the first time I've helped somebody with my gear make it on television.
That is awesome. That's a great story right there.
Yeah, so when I say I have a pair of tights that I'm willing to sell that were ring worn by Matt Bentley, I can get away with that.
Well, you've made it on some WWE TV, but you were also on the news. You were interviewed for the Wrestling Lab. What was that experience like?
That was a very, very humbling. To finally be able to represent a true passion. Like, I truly love what I do at the Wrestling Lab. I am very fortunate to be somebody who is there from the very beginning with people who are in pursuit of their dream. And to be able to be the front runner to speak about the Wrestling Lab, and not only that, but be on television for it, was in a sense a full circle thing for me. When I was a kid and my family moved to Florida, my dad was a welder, and the job that he got, one of the jobs that he got that was very special was him welding the roof for Tropicana Field.
Oh, wow.
And while Tropicana Field was being built, they did filming for a local television channel out here called WTOG 44. And my dad had his little time on television when he was somebody that got videotaped while he was welding, and he got to pop back his welding helmet, and with his gloves he got to put up 44 with his hands, and they featured it in a commercial. And I remember being a kid and being like, man, that was so awesome. My dad got to do that, and I want to be on the TV too, even if it's for a little bit. And to be able to have that opportunity, that when it got set up and they wanted me to speak and represent the Wrestling Lab, that was a moment where I was like, I really hope my dad enjoyed that, So yeah, like being on that and talking about the lab, and then it bringing me back to my childhood. It was something that I just felt like it was aligned. That it was something that it should have happened, and it did. And I was very, very grateful for having that opportunity as well.
That is really awesome. Now, being an alchemist, you need an assistant. Can you tell us about Wiley Gene?
Wiley Gene. Gene is short for genius, by the way. My Wiley, not only is he my assistant, but he is also a very, very good close friend of mine. I got introduced to Wiley. Wiley has actually been a manager here on the Florida independent scene for over 30 years. He's worked with a lot of talent and has shared locker rooms with a lot of great people. Being someone who kind of came out of Malenko's school at the time, which was ran by Boris Malenko, and that's another Florida legend. He got to help bring not only myself to certain places that I didn't think I would go to, but it just was a friendship that just developed, and we've had numerous times throughout my career where we were like just teamed up for a short period of time. But then we were working for Fred Ottman, which is Tugboat, Typhoon, the Shockmaster.
Oh, yeah.
He was running a promotion called LPW, and they were running out of Sarasota, and they put me and Wiley together. At the time, I was having transportation issues, and Wiley was always willing to come and pick me up for each show and take me around. So we started working together, and he was my manager at the time. But I've encountered a lot of issues when you have a manager in wrestling. A lot of the times, it's very rare where other promotions want to use managers when that promoter may have a manager already in his promotion, so to speak, and never wants to have more than one or two, Right. So while Wiley and I were together, we noticed like we were getting booked, but there was just a stunt, and that stunt was, or that bump was, when it came to me saying, hey, I have this manager I want to bring. And everybody was like, oh, well, we have managers here. We can set you up with one if you want a manager. And it's like, it's not that I just don't want any manager. I want my Wiley.
What? And
we sat and we powwowed together for a little bit and what we were going to do. And I told him, I said, if we're going to make you marketable, you can't be my manager anymore. And he was like, well, what am I going to be to you? And I was like, well, what does every freaking mad scientist that's out there always have by his side? And it hit a light bulb on Gene's head. And he was like, he always has an assistant. And I was like, exactly. You are now going to be my assistant. And because of that, it opened up the floodgates, and everywhere we got to go together. After COVID, things got a little hard for him. He has obligations that it just makes it hard for him as of lately to be able to attend shows, but it still does not mean I don't have my assistant. Sometimes he's not with me at shows, but when I'm putting together promos or when it comes to reviewing stuff that I have done without him, and I ask, well, what can I have done better? He's always been there to give me insight, and I will always be grateful for that. But yes, it's once we changed him from a manager to my assistant, that's when things got great. It was incredible. What a ride that was.
I think it's a good segue into our next segment, and that is David Mercury's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the roads, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
There's a lot of crazy stories. Some I can't talk about. Some must remain classified. But I would have to say our trip to Pittsburgh, we were fortunate enough to be able to, it was a group of us together. It was myself and Wiley. We had, at the time, the Dirty Blondes, Michael Patrick and Brian Brock.
Okay.
And we also had the up-and-comer Snoop Strikes at the time coming up. And we were taking a trip up, and while we were going up to Pittsburgh, we were trying to find another promotion to probably hit just to get a little bit more cash into the car, so that way we didn't have to dip into hotel money for gas type deal. We were trying to do business right. And that brought us to IWA Mid-South. And I tell you what, that was an experience that I never thought I would have had. I've heard of the legends of IWA Mid-South, especially when it has come to their hardcore events. And wow, to walk from the locker room to the ring and you step on broken fluorescent glass, what was enough to send chills down my spine. Now, I'm a person that doesn't have any issues when it comes to hardcore. Deathmatch is a little bit out of my league. The only reason is because of some of the real hazards that lie within that.
Right.
And I won't dive too much into that, but I tell you what, after that venue, I was like, you know what, this was a great experience, but it's someplace that I don't choose to ever return to. And then one other little crazy little story I would have to say was my first road. It was a flight to Puerto Rico, but the road trip from the hotel to the venue was nothing more than an experience as well. So over here in the States, we have laws on, we have laws for the road. And over there, they bend them a lot. And I've never experienced how much they bend the rules there until being driven from the hotel to the venue. I think we've probably broke on the way over there maybe 7 major laws that we have here in the state, but over there it's lenient. They don't mind. Then getting stuck on the highway. Okay, mind you, we're driving, probably doing like 90 miles an hour. Okay. I was jam-packed in a car with other big wrestlers to the point where I was sitting not necessarily in the middle because the car was so small, but I was wedged in the middle on the 2 laps of 2 other wrestlers. So it was like, oh my God, this guy's doing 90. I'm in the middle right here. One false move and we're going to die. And I thought we were getting ready to hit the back of this one car, and the guy zooms past them, and lo and behold, it wasn't even a whole car. It was the back end of a car that was being pulled by a horse on the highway. And yeah, and then doing 90, I'm sitting there like, holy crap, and I see the exit that we were supposed to be getting off at, and the guy passes it, and I'm like, hey man, you just passed you passed the exit, dude. He goes, oh, I did? Then he slams on the brakes, puts the car in reverse on the middle of the highway, and he's pulling backwards. I'm like, oh my God, we're about to get rammed from the back. This is it. This is where David Mercury dies. This is the story. Everybody remember it. And the guy ends up backing up. Cars are flying by us. And then he goes off on the exit and gets us to the venue. When he gets us to the venue, you want to talk about how grateful I was? The best way to explain it was I jumped out of that car equivalent to what Ric Flair did when he left North Korea and landed back in Japan, I literally dropped down to my knees, dropped my gear bag and everything. I kissed the freaking floor. I was so happy to be safe and not moving at 90 miles, almost 100 miles an hour in a little car on the lap of two other wrestlers. And then afterwards, I had to tell the guy, I was like, I can never ride with you again. I was like, by the end of the night, I'm getting somebody else to get me to the airport. But that was those were the two crazy little road stories. I feel like I can tell that we're entertaining, but not getting into too much detail.
And good stories they were. Definitely bizarre adventures, to say the least.
Totally. I'm gonna have to write a book called The Chronicles of the Alchemist.
Oh, please do. Now, we talked about your assistant, but when you're at home, you have another assistant, and that would be Dexter the Cat.
Actually, he's right here in the room with me as we speak.
Oh.
Dexter is something truly special to me. He's a second-generation cat that I owned. I owned his father 15 years ago, and I had his dad for 4 years. And then he was bred with another cat, and she gave birth to 4 kittens. All 4 were male, 3 were short-haired, and 1 was with long hair. And the only one that the father, Dexter Sr., would associate himself with was, of course, the small little hairy one. And that one was the one that I was like, yep, you love him so much, he's the one that's going to be named after you. So I named that one Dexter. And like I said, for the last 15 years, this guy's always been not always by my side, because I don't want to stress him taking him to wrestling shows.
Right.
But anytime I film promos, when I'm at home, he's always there. He loves being in the room, whether it's for podcasts, whether it's for my promos. My little man is always there and a part of it. Is so a part of it that I've taught him through bribing how to wear a pair of goggles that I got for him. And yes, he's been nothing but the best. I've had him featured in a couple of my promos, but as of lately, he's kind of taking more of the back seat and likes to watch the production and assist with production instead of being on camera.
Oh, yeah. Dexter knows what he likes.
Yes. Well, he's tired of getting half his pay up front and half at the end. He's like, look, I don't do any work unless I get all my pay up front. So he drives a hard bargain too. He's a shrewd businessman.
All right. Now, the tattoo on your arm, I believe it's the playing card King of Hearts. Is there any significance to that?
Yes, actually it does. So, of course, my name is David, and in biblical times, David was known to be a king. But my middle name is Isaac, and Isaac stands for the beloved. So, me being a person who was a big fan of the elbow drop, and in my opinion, the two people who have the 2 best elbow drops in the business, one being Macho Man, second being Shawn Michaels.
Right.
I used to do that move a lot. And if you were to look closely at my tattoo, when my arm is down and normal, it is just the regular King of Hearts card. But when I turn my arm up and you see me getting ready to drop an elbow drop, you'll notice that the king does not have his sword in his head, but it actually has it out as if he's driving it down. So that's why I put that on my arm.
That is awesome. Is there, I did notice that you have more tattoos. Are there any significance to those?
Ooh, now you're bringing this one up. And for people that are going to hear about this one, they're going to officially understand. Besides the King of Hearts, the one that means a lot to me is the one on my lower back. A lot of people like to refer to it as a tramp stamp, but when Lance Archer defended his and he called it a champ stamp, I decided to take that coin that he did and use it for mine. But the story behind mine was back in 1999. I lost my father. My father was a big Batman fan, and between my mom and my dad, they were the ones who kind of gave me my love for comics. I'm an avid comic collector. I'm very drawn to the Marvel cinema. I'm drawn to any type of comic cinema. I've always loved. Batman in particular was my dad's favorite. He was a big fan of Michael Keaton and Adam West when they produced their movie, when Tim Burton produced the first two Batman movies. And when he died, my mom never had gotten a tattoo in her life, but she wanted to get one in honor of him. So at the time, my sister and her talked, and they talked about getting it on their lower back, because at the time, that's where a lot of people in the late 90s, where people were getting that tattoo, was on their lower back. Well, when the day came and we met up with my father's tattoo artist, my dad, he did have a lot of tattoos. And when we met up with his tattoo artist, my sister didn't show. She had something come up and she wasn't there. And my mom was nervous on getting the tattoo. So while being there with my mom, I just decided to say, you know what, Mom, I'm going to sit and I'm going to get the tattoo done, and I'll let you know it doesn't hurt. So I went, I sat in the chair, and I let the guy tattoo me in front of my mom. And shortly after, she, after telling her it didn't hurt, it was easy. She felt confident, and she then sat and got the tattoo as well. And then shortly after that, my sister went and got the tattoo done. My brother went and got a Batman tattoo done, but due to his weight at the time, he wasn't able to get his. He was going to do his on the lower back too, just because everybody else did, but he ended up getting his on his calf. But yeah, it's what we did to pay homage to my father. Now, I do have some work getting ready to be done on my entire back, and that piece is still going to be showcased, but I'm going to get more added to my back, so that way it's not just the Batman there.
That's an awesome story.
Yeah.
What are you adding to your back?
I'm going to do almost like a family tree, but it's going to be of my Mercury symbol. And I'm going to put my Mercury symbol on my back.
Okay. Cool. Now, that does beg the question. Has the Technical Alchemist ever watched Full Metal Alchemist?
I did catch a couple of episodes back in the day when it first started, and it's funny that you bring that up, because when I wear my red lab coat, especially when I work for Bizarro Wrestling, everybody that is at the Comic Cons at the time, they are always like, "Oh, so you're a big fan of Full Metal Alchemist?" And I was like, "No, I'm a big fan of Technical Alchemy." And then they start asking me about how I got in that idea, and I told them, when it comes to alchemy, alchemy is it does have a wizardly background, but in so to speak, for today's standards, alchemy is when you study something to its rawest form. Like you can take, botany for an example, but you can take botany to a form of alchemy by studying everything to its rawest form. You learn what is the key points of botany if you're studying for plants, or herpetology if you're studying reptiles, you know what I mean? And for me, it always was wrestling. And before I became a professional wrestler, I was also a amateur wrestler. I competed in high school. I was very fortunate, to be able to do that. And I brought my knowledge of amateur wrestling and my conditioning and everything to professional wrestling. And still to this day, when the Alchemist wrestles, I'm not a guy who's out there with a flashy finishing move or a flashy submission hold. No, I'm a guy who is going to catch you with some type of pin. A lot of them, not many people have ever seen before, and I'm going to use that pin to hold you down to the ground for 3 seconds and get my win. And that's the birth of technical alchemy. It's not about the submissions. It's not about the big moves. It's about doing what wrestling was, and that is taking your opponent and holding them against their will for 1 second by placing their shoulders on the mat. Well, in professional wrestling, I'm fortunate enough to be able to present my dominance by holding them for 3.
Now, we talked about you being in the Kill City tournament, and you've been in many of wrestling tournaments. But can you tell us about competing in a fishing tournament?
Oh, you saw that one. So I was very fortunate. Jay and myself had a student whose father owns a boat, and from time to time does like different charters. And when he took us out on our first trip, he took Jay and myself. We got to go out into the Gulf. We went about 2 hours, what was equivalent to almost 68 miles out into the Gulf.
Wow.
That's about the distance from Tampa to Orlando. And while we were out there, we got to really see some very awesome animals. It was the first time I got to see my first leatherback sea turtle, which is one of the largest sea turtles in the ocean. And I got to see a school of mahi-mahi, which we were able to catch some of those. But also, too, that day, Jay and myself, we caught 2 trophy-size kingfish. And shortly after we got that, my friend's father, the captain of the boat, was like, "We're going to enter into this tournament." And I was like, "What's the tournament?" He's like, "We're going to go kingfishing. And this tournament, we're going to try to catch the same size kingfish that we caught that day." Well, unfortunately, that day we didn't come as lucky with the size that we got. But man, if the day that we went out and caught the size that we did and was on that day for that tournament, we would have placed either 3rd or 2nd because of the size of that kingfish. It was massive. I actually do have a picture of that online with Jay. Me and Jay both holding up the size of that kingfish, and that was incredible rush that day for being able to partake in that. Yeah, Michael Hammer was the man that gave us that opportunity on going out on his boat, and I'll always be grateful for that experience.
Is that something you'd be interested in doing again?
Oh, of course.
All right. So, fishing might be in the future of the Technical Alchemist.
Oh, of course. My dad was a very avid fisherman. Once we moved to Florida, it was all bets were off. My dad was happy. Originally, we were from New London, Connecticut. Well, I am from New London, Connecticut, but my parents, my dad was from Puerto Rico and my mom was from New York. And yeah, like when it comes to fishing, that was one of my dad's favorite pastimes. He never really went He went out deep sea fishing a couple of times with his friends, but you know, my dad with his friends, he wasn't taking his kids at that time. That was a daddy alone time thing. But my dad was very big on fishing, and to being able to have the opportunity to go out like I did and do that, it definitely turned on a switch of like, now I know why my dad loved this, and I'll definitely like to try this again myself, you know. And yeah, I will definitely go back out on the ocean if offered, the time is right, for sure.
Hell yeah. Now, getting kind of back to the ring, you recorded motions for the Wrestling Code game, no?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. My character, I hope is still going to be featured into the game. I haven't heard from the producer, but yes, we did half the filming at the Wrestling Lab, and the time that we did it too at the Wrestling Lab, Wiley got to be a part of it as well, and he's going to be part of the download content that you get to add with David Mercury, because originally on the day one launch, it would just be me, but then you get to get the downloaded stuff of getting extra skins or extra other people, and Wiley was going to be a part of that. The second half that we filmed was up in New Hampshire, and that was a pretty cool experience too. That was where I got the opportunity to go to Beltime, which was a school at the time. I don't know who, I can't remember the name of the guy who operates Beltime, but he does have a guy by the name of Barnaby that helps him out with like the coaching and stuff like that. And Barnaby got to be the guy for me, let me be the guy to do the moves, like the signature Mercury moves and stuff like that, which I thought was very awesome to be a part of that.
Now, just going back to the Wrestling Lab for one moment, you know, I don't think anybody didn't see that video of Jay Lethal wrestling Ric Flair and in the Wrestling Lab. Were you there when that took place?
Yes, and I'll leave it at that. It was an experience that I'd have to say that, you know, it's one of those childhood deals where here you are, get invited to come up. You know, one day Jay's like, "Hey, come up to the school, man. I got something I want you to be a part of." So I'm just like, okay, you know, all right, I'm gonna come up. So I come up and I'm up there, and he's like, you know, go ahead and get your gear on, man. Like, you know, put your shoes and your knee pads on, all right. And I was like, okay, no problem. And then all of a sudden I hear the other door open, and it's the Wrestling Lab. We have two doors. We have a door where we have our students come through, and then we have another door where it's majority of the time just the coaches or special guests that we might have. And I heard that door open, and then all of a sudden I hear Jay, Rick, and then I hear him say Jay, and I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden he comes around the corner, and there's the man himself, the legendary Ric Flair. And I was, as I am right now, I was a little starstruck. I mean, this is a man that's practically gone most people's Mount Rushmore for what he has done for the business, you know. And here he is in our Wrestling Lab, and being able to work and talk with him and being able to have that opportunity was something that, like I said, it was very fortunate, because I've had the opportunities in my career to be somebody, to be there and assist and help people get back to performing again, you know. And he was just another one that I got to scratch off the list of being a part of, being able to work with while they are getting themselves better for something high profile. I felt very privileged to be a part of that.
That is 100% awesome.
Yeah, tell me about it. It was great. I would never forget it.
You could say that David Mercury has had a a star-studded career, worthy of a movie. Which brings us to the colossal question. Let's say they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
First song, Rock Superstar by Cypress Hill. Second song, Second song, Stay Fly by 3-6 Mafia.
Okay.
And the final song, Hurt by Johnny Cash.
Oh yeah. Definitely a solid 3 picks to say the least. Oh, excuse me for one moment. Okay. A solid 3 picks to say the least. Now that we have the soundtrack down, everybody knows you do the soundtrack first, then you write the script, and then you go to casting. Who would play David? And you can't say yourself because you are legally obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo.
Oh, so you're giving me the opportunity like Hunter S. Thompson did with Johnny Depp for Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I get it. Who do I think would play me as the Technical Alchemist? David Mercury. I would honestly... That's really good because I love movies. And who do I think would play a good Technical Alchemist? Well, if I was to say someone to play me now, for me now, I would have to say I would like to get Benicio del Toro.
I mean, we could get him.
As me as older, my younger self, Corey Matthews from Boy Meets World would be the younger version of me getting into wrestling, and then as it kind of like fast forwards into the grizzled vet that is today, it would have to be Benicio del Toro. Or if I could tie it with Corey Matthews, you know, Ben Savage's brother, I would either do that or I would like to say like Shia LaBeouf. But he has to be in the shape that he was in the Elastic Hearts music video by Sia. He would have to be in that shape to portray me for young Mercury, and then go into Benicio del Toro playing me as I am now. And then I get to make the little cameo in the background.
I love all these references. Boy Meets World, Sia.
Well, I pick Boy Meets World because actually when I was way younger and I started to don facial hair, people used to rib on me saying how much I used to look like Corey Matthews from Boy Meets World because of how curly my hair is, which is one of the reasons why I like to keep it short besides people trying to pull it. But I also liked I've been a fan of Shia LaBeouf. I think he's a very good, strong actor and is very he's very good at multiple roles. He's never has to be the same. He's very different. And there was just something about the way he looked in that music video when he was in that for Sia and that specific song, because he did a lot of interpretive dancing and didn't speak at all in that music video, and that's what sold me on him, on how good he really is, because here's an actor who that's all he was, is an actor that people looked at him, but he was able to go outside of his comfort zone and illustrate this story using movement and expressions without a single word having to be said. And I feel like that gives him that credit for me. And then of course when we talk about Benicio del Toro, I mean, come on, there isn't a role that guy hasn't done that hasn't been nothing short but fantastic.
Hell yeah. And now that we have you casted, every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be 3 people significant to you and your story that would be in your movie, and who would play them?
Okay, so my wife will be portrayed by the MCU's Agatha. She was also in Step Brothers.
Yes.
I don't remember that actress's name, but she will portray my wife.
She was on Saturday Night Live.
She did for a little while, but then she was also in that movie like Bad Moms. Yeah. She played in WandaVision as Agatha. She was in Step Brothers as Brennan's brother's wife, who ended up, messing around with Dale. John C. Reilly's character. Hands down, she would have to portray my wife. She is the only actress I feel that is like the closest to how my wife is every day. So that would be the one that has to play my wife.
Her name is Caitlin Hahn.
Exactly, her. Yep. That's my wife all day long.
Okay.
And then, wow. Who else will play? Man, who could be a good Wiley? Man, that's a tough one for Wiley. I know so many different actors. I feel like if he was still alive today, I feel like the older gentleman, he was in the movie, the original movie, The Thing, with Kurt Russell. He's also played in Cocoon. He's the guy who used to do the diabetes commercial, the guy who would say, diabetes. That will have to be my Wiley. And then...
Wilford Brimley.
There you go, him. That's my Wiley. When Wiley watches this podcast, he's going to give me crap about that one. It's going to be like, for real? You couldn't pick someone who had abs? But nope, that's who Wiley is going to portray for me in the movie.
All right, and you got one more.
One more. All right. And the guy who played Imhotep in The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, he will be my close friend, Eddie Torres. He will be portrayed by him. Of course, he'd have to put on a little bit more muscle mass, but that guy would be the guy that will portray my good friend, Eddie Torres. And then Michael B. Jordan will... Nope. Tyler, the Creator, will have to portray Jay Lethal for me.
Okay. All right. This is sounding like a blockbuster, to say the least.
Of course.
And you could pre-order...
Technical Alchemist, and it is going to be a blockbuster.
Of course. And you could pre-order the tickets now. All right. On to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
I've had it, not necessarily a fan of it, so I wouldn't try to go towards it. It's not something that I would go to, but if somebody had it out there and that's all I had to eat, I wouldn't complain.
So you're leaning more towards anti?
No, don't have it at all. No, I won't. I think it's an abomination, really. Let's just go back to that, yeah. Pineapple on pizza is an abomination. Now, anchovies, now you're talking.
Oh, pro anchovies, but no pineapple.
Nope.
All right. What's your spirit Pokemon?
Ooh. I haven't followed Pokemon in so long. I would say... the wrestling one, Ciampa, right? Ciampa's his name?
Machamp.
Machamp, yep. That's the one.
No, Hitmo Lee. Hitmo Chin or Hitmo Lee? Just a couple of
Oh, Hitmo Lee.
There you go.
I know that one. That one's the one that has the that casts the psychic spell, right? The one that looked like he has whiskers.
No, that's the one that has that looks like a wrestler, like with the boxing gloves.
Oh, yeah. Then I don't recall that one. So yeah, we'll go with Lee.
Okay.
He sounds cooler.
Now, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for Thug? THUG.
No, I don't. And that actually kind of hurts me because my trainer, Steve Kern, that was his first student. I know that much. I don't know what he means with the acronym of Thug, but I do know that Tracy Smothers was Steve Kern's first student.
Well, I'll spell it out for you. T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail, 'cause a Doug can't spell.
That's great.
Yes.
That's great.
We love the late great Tracy Smothers, and we're trying to keep the memory alive on the show.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much for giving me that little piece of knowledge.
Hell yeah. Weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully. Would you ever consider wrestling a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical Rock.
You know what? I don't have no problem wrestling a Rock because I've wrestled a tree already. So a Rock better watch out.
Hell yeah. Well, just for context, there's this wrestler named Psycho Mike that indeed wrestled a Rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. I'm going to need to see that one.
I can send it to you.
I appreciate that.
But, I mean, it kind of seems like he doesn't have something on you. You wrestled a tree.
Yeah, but it wasn't for 2 weeks. I mean, so this tree was giving me problems when I was at a wrestling convention when WrestleMania was in Tampa the last time at Raymond James Stadium. And while we were in the parking lot, I was out there talking with Eddie Torres and Bill Alfonso. My wife was present. And for some reason, this tree just kept touching me, kept messing with me to the point where I had to square up and I had to tell it, look, man, I don't know who you are. You must have been here for a while, but like, I'm here just chilling. And I locked up with him for about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, man. And this tree just, he wouldn't budge. So I had to take myself elsewhere. I have to say I took the L on that one.
All right. Well, on a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Where do I see myself in 5 years? Still happily married. Very fortunate. I will hopefully be celebrating my 47th birthday. And by then, I would hope to have accomplished the last little things that I've wanted to accomplish, which is go international and hopefully keep the wrestling lab going in 5 years. Because then that will mark 10 for me and Jay. And then after that, I'll be happy. I could ride off into the sunset.
And what is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what you are all about?
Any of them. All my matches are great. Any one that I've had with Eddie Torres, that I've had with Devin Diaz, the Dirty Man, Devin Diaz, the Gifted. so many. Mr. Pretty Fly, the Shane twins, Mike Sullivan. There were so many of them. I've had so many matches throughout the years. Ones that are viable. I would say my match with Pablo Marquez at POW, my match with Cha Cha Charlie, both POW, and the cage match that we had at CCW for their anniversary, their 15th anniversary, and my dog collar match against one of my students, Jay Villa. Those will be ones to take a look at and enjoy.
Okay, and these matches are on YouTube?
Yes.
All right, then I will look for them on YouTube, and I will grab the link, and I will put it in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. For anybody that hasn't seen it, wants to see it, wants to re-see it after this interview. And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview,
I'm calling it.
We are wrestling with the 8 questions of the 8
beat you to it.
Technical difficulties on my side, but the 8 questions of doom. This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Shoot.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Kurt Angle.
Worst wrestler.
Ooh, worst wrestler. Ooh, that's a tough one. Worst wrestler.
Would you like the default answer?
Yes.
You have chosen Eva Marie.
Okay.
You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
William Regal.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Hulk Hogan's Voodoo Child.
Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Gizzo and Brizother.
You would have also accepted taste great on toast. Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Technically, because it has seeds, and most vegetables don't have seeds, it would be a fruit.
And you would be correct. It is indeed a fruit. New Japan.
Told you that botany would work out for me.
New Japan wrestler Tai Chi. His ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
Ooh. Yeah, it's got to cover the whole butt.
So full coverage.
Totally.
Okay.
Because I wear trunks and mine's got to be full cover.
And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
No, yeah, actually I have.
Really?
Nah, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to say that and see how you pop.
And that would be the correct answer. That will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Not a problem. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. And once again, where can we find all things Technical Alchemist on social media?
You can find me on Facebook. I have my fan page, The Technical Alchemist David Mercury. You can find me on X, which is The Technical Alchemist DM. And you can also find me on Instagram, The Technical Alchemist David Mercury. And then you can also go to my YouTube channel. Hopefully hit subscribe and see some of my old stuff. I got to get it recently updated so that way people can enjoy the current stuff that is out there of me. But yes, and you can also find that at The Technical Alchemist on YouTube.
And we could, and merchandise is coming soon to Pro Wrestling Tees.
Correct.
Alright. And you don't have to type it into your Google machine. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. Simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Give him a damn follow. And when his merchandise comes out, buy a damn shirt. Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, both on YouTube and Castbox. This was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews, and follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on X, Thread, and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, when I say Wrestling With, you say entertainment, okay?
Okay.
For our special guest David Mercury, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I am James J, and this has been Wrestling With
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.